Hey everyone, welcome to part 23 of my fists only, no ranged weapons, no armor and no deaths playthrough of Demon Souls. In part 22, I beat the boss of this area, which is made in Latria. However, I did so without collecting any items. This time round, I'm going back to collect everything I missed that I possibly can grab. The reason I'm doing it back to front like that is I don't have a sodden ring and I don't have a plague resistance ring, two key rings for making this area a lot easier. Plus, it was my guess the plague babies were going to be a pain in the ass to deal with fists. So my idea here was to grab whatever items I could easily get to. I put pine resin on my claws here because I knew they were probably, well, I didn't know, I speculated they were probably weak to fire. But watch my health, like, they are exactly what I thought, extremely dangerous. And at this point I was like panicking that they were going to kill me. I got to land as quickly as I could and decided, yeah, there's just no way I'm going out into that swamp ever again. They'll likely kill me. Without a sodden ring, I just have no chance. So now that I was safe on land, I was inspecting to see if I could spot how many plague babies were between me and whatever that item was. It's very difficult to see here exactly what is really in the swamp. And after how quickly they had reduced my health and knowing if they blocked me off back and front I would die, I concluded that item was not worth ruining my run over, and I had made sure to be carrying an archstone shard before I came here so that I could walk back to the Nexus if this exact scenario happened, so that was good. After the trouble the plague babies gave me, they almost killed me really. If I'd been in the swamp any longer, they would have. You'd think I'd put my points, my souls into vitality, but for some reason I chose endurance. I don't know why. Looking back on this, I really should have been putting more points into vitality. And after saying I should have put more souls into vitality so many times throughout this playthrough, I swear I'm going to do a run in the future where that's all I do. Just put my souls into vitality and maybe endurance, and that's all. And I actually have an idea for how to do that and make it interesting. Not sure it'll work, but I guess we'll see. Back to this playthrough, I came back here to get that one lone item that I missed. I mean, I assume that was the only item here I'd missed. It was the only one I could see at least. In any case, the more I stared at it, I could see it was on a really, really tiny rock. And I wasn't sure if the plague babies could get me if I was standing on that rock. I thought maybe they can because it's very small and the swamp goes right up to that item. I couldn't see a safe way to get there. I certainly couldn't get away from that rock if I was on it. I would need to use a NEXUS binding to lose on my souls and go back to the Nexus because I was out of archstone shards. So I stared at it and thought, nah, it's not worth dying for whatever that item is. I don't even know what the item is. It's not worth dying for it. I'd hate my playthrough to end right here just because I dropped down on that rock and I've got nowhere to go and can't survive a horde of plague babies gnawing at my feet. So yeah, I gave up on getting that item. So it was time to choose the next world to do, and I chose Upper Latria. I could have chosen the Tunnel City at this point. Now that I had a set of claws, I think Tunnel City and Flame Lurker would probably be equally as difficult as anything in Upper Latria. It probably didn't matter. I could have chosen either, but I just chose Upper Latria because I thought the more I can level up before Flame Lurker, the better. He might be difficult with claws. I wasn't sure. I knew he'd be super difficult with bare fists, but now that I had the claws, probably not. In any case, Upper Latria it was. Yeah, and once again I'm wasting my time by sending items off to storage to lighten my load and make myself move faster. At least that's what I thought I was doing, but the more I've narrated these videos and the more I've received comments, I've learned that it's a waste of time. Only your equipment burden affects the rate at which you move, how fast you move. Your item burden does not. I don't know that though here, and I didn't know it for the rest of my playthrough since I did it all in one hit. But yeah, I won't do that again in the future. My lack of knowledge of this area is betrayed right here because I'm running back to the archstone where I started. I wasn't real familiar with Upper Latria. I mean, I'd done it before in my first playthrough, but I was not very knowledgeable on this area. I pretty much had to run through it and let it come back to me as I went. You can see the Vinland crest there. That gets dropped by Gull Vinland. That's an item I needed to keep because it's needed to complete a pure White World Tendency event in the Valley of Defilement. What you do is you give it to Gull Vinland's sister, Selene Vinland. I knew that and I was holding on to it because my plan with this playthrough was I wanted to do all the pure White World Tendency events in one hit towards the end of the game. I thought it'd be a great challenge and it'd be really cool to watch to see all of the events that I could remember at least done in one single run. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because I accidentally triggered Gull Vinland's Black Phantom Pure White World Tendency event in previous parts of this playthrough, so I can't do them all in one run anymore, or I wasn't able to do them in one run anymore in this playthrough. But I still did most of them, if not all of the remaining ones that I thought I could do, and that I'll show you in a future part. But yeah, that's what that item is in my inventory for still. Now, I knew there was an item down there that you get by walking off this ledge, but there it is, you can see it there. But in my first playthrough, I think I died 2 or 3 times trying to walk off that ledge to get that item, and I decided it just wasn't worth it for this playthrough. I would likely fall to my death there. If there was some platforming to be done, I was sure I could have done it, but I absolutely was not going to drop off that ledge and end my playthrough there. So yeah, whatever that item was, it could stay there. I could not believe it when the weapon damage warning came up on my screen. I'd spent my playthrough sending edge sharpening stones to storage, which was something I didn't need to do. That's just an item I could have kept without affecting my ability to move. So I had no means by which to repair my weapon here, and this was the first time this had ever happened to me. Because I'd played through my first playthrough with weapons, I was always repairing them, and I'd just forgotten to do it here because I'd gotten into an early game habit of not worrying about it since I'd been using bare fists. So I had a choice here. I could continue on using bare fists, or I could double back, head back to the Nexus, and see if the blacksmith there could repair my weapon, which I wasn't even sure if damaging your weapon could cause your weapon to be like worse in the future, even if you repaired it. I had no idea, no experience with this at all. So I was a little bit worried at this point because these were the only claws I had and were likely getting for my entire playthrough, and I didn't know if I'd just wrecked them or not. So yeah, I had to go back to the Nexus to find out whether or not I'd be using claws for the rest of this run, or whether I'd be going back to being barefisted again.
I can forge weapons for you. You come back alive. I need your business.
I was pretty relieved to see my right weapon damage was 139, which meant that even though I damaged the weapon, by repairing it, it was back to what it was originally, so I had not wrecked my weapon permanently. I was pretty happy about that.
No interest, eh? I can tell you're not going to last.
I was worried sick.
And because of that, I made sure to put a couple of Ed's sharpening stones into my inventory just in case it happened to me again. That way I'd be able to fix my weapon on the fly and not have to come back to the Nexus. And back I went. this ledge was a little bit nerve-wracking. I made sure to push my stick directly towards the fence. Well, at least now that I know items don't affect movement speed, my future run videos won't be quite as laborious in watching me do all this inventory management, so that's a good thing. It's just a shame that for the rest of this run, you'll see me doing this a lot still. Oh well, these things happen. I couldn't quite remember what was on this area here, but I knew to be wary of one of those gargoyles flying in, and I also knew not to run too fast because there was an elevator and I thought you could fall through it, through the gap where the elevator appears. So yeah, there's the gargoyle. Yeah, I knew to just take my time here and not to move too quickly. And I also remembered to be careful when on the elevator, because usually when you get to the top of it, there's a gargoyle that kind of comes out right at the end, and I wasn't sure if that gargoyle was going to be dangerous enough to maybe knock me off to my death. Yeah, so I knew to be very careful on this elevator when I was going up. I could hear it, but I didn't know where it was. That giant heart is just so damn cool. So I could see there was nowhere to go there, and that led me to believe the key that I needed for the Prison of Hope to free Lord Riddell was probably at the top of the second tower in the area, where you have to also cut chains down to that giant heart. I knew the key was in this area, and I was sure it was at the top of a tower. I was not 100% certain, but I was pretty close to 100% certain that that key was going to be at the top of the next tower. Okay, this part was going to be sketchy, I thought. This is Yurt, the Silent Chief. He's a liar and he's a scumbag. When you release him from his prison cell, he'll head to the Nexus and he'll kill all the NPCs there. He's a liar and he's better off dead. But I wasn't sure if killing him would affect world or character tendency. Apparently it doesn't, but I wasn't sure. So my objective here was to try to knock him off so he fell to his death, and that way I'd guarantee that it didn't affect my world or character tendency. What was sketchy about it, I thought, though, was I might fall to my death too while I did it. But I aimed myself to go out on that side platform, and that worked. I did that reasonably safely. If he falls off like that, you can quit out of the game and then reload the game, and his gloom armor set will be where he fell. But I didn't want to quit out of the game. I thought I'd just leave the armor set. I didn't need it. It wasn't something that was going to be helpful to me, so yeah. I didn't want to quit out of the game, I just wanted to continue on. And speaking of continuing on, this leads to the bottom section of Upper Latria, which in turn leads to the Man-Eater boss. This is a pretty cool looking area. I wasn't sure if you could get plagued by standing in the swamp, so I was kind of just standing here just to wait and see, but it didn't look like you could get plagued here, and as it went on I realised you can't. But this area, it's kind of short but also long enough to be its own part, so I'll show that in the next video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.